today, Sunday, January 15, 2023, and this is another video by the Youth Political Activism channel. We're still getting the hang of our uploading schedule, but hopefully we'll have videos for you guys semi-frequently. But again, we also have YouTube Shorts and TikToks. If you guys want to check those out, the YouTube Shorts under the same name, and then the TikToks at bhhs.ypac. So feel free to check those out and, engage with them, like, comment, to follow everything that every YouTuber tells you. But on today's video, we're going to be comparing and contrasting and going over the classified documents found at Biden's former private office and his home in Delaware. And then also comparing that to the classified documents found in Trump's Florida home, Mar-a-Lago, as it's called. So just a bit of background if you haven't heard of this case yet, which you probably have because it's been a bit of a media disruptor because of the comparisons that are and can be made between the two cases. But just a bit of background again. On November 2nd, Biden's lawyers went to his former private office in Washington, D.C. to empty out his belongings. I'm pretty sure that's why they were there. And when they were there, they found the classified documents. The day after, they notified the National Archives and the Justice Department, and they were returned to the National Archives on the same day, the second day, which would be November 3rd. And so Biden's lawyers did not waste any time. Biden himself wasn't refusing to give access. He was self-reporting the documents. The DOJ and the National Archives wouldn't have known about the documents until now if Biden hadn't alerted them of them. Under 12 were found at that location in particular. One was deemed top secret, again from that location, but more have been found thus far. I think another few or so, or a dozen or something like that, were found in his private garage at his home in Wilmington, Delaware, and then also in his private library in the same home. So scattered throughout his home. I'm speaking about this lightly, but just to get this across, if I haven't already done so, this is very bad. No former president or vice president or anything should have those documents that belong to the federal government and are the property of the federal government after they are no longer in office. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the documents that were found were from Biden's time as vice president in the Obama administration, and so after he left in 2017, those documents should have been returned to the National Archives after he was no longer serving as a representative in our government. And same with Donald Trump. He had those documents from when he was president. He should have returned them without a doubt, and they shouldn't have made their way home to Florida. And that was very irresponsible. But again, over 100 were found at Mar-a-Lago, while less than a dozen were found at least one location. But then overall, I think a couple dozen were probably found in the various locations. Again, both presidents being extremely irresponsible to have these documents in the first place. They shouldn't have had them. Oh, okay, that's an ad. Fantastic. But neither president should have had those documents. But I think in the case of Donald Trump, the similarities and the parallels really end there at the existence of the classified documents in particular, because there were so many other things that went into this in particular, and there are just so many other differences between how both presidents reacted and responded to these situations. So with Donald Trump's, the National Archives alerted him and asked him multiple times to return the classified documents. Again, they were found in, I believe, December of 2021, after the National Archives asked him multiple times to return them, and after they issued a subpoena, and after Donald Trump ignored every single call that they made for him to return the documents. Again, they were at his home in Mar-a-Lago, found in December 2021. In August of 2022, the National Archives not the National Archives, the FBI raided his home in Mar-a-Lago, and this was probably the thing that got the most attention in media, culture wars and everything. A former president of the United States being raided by the FBI. I think personally that this was very justified because he was not returning the property of the national government. He held those on. He hid them. It was an obstruction of justice. Again, Donald Trump should not have had those documents, just like Biden shouldn't have had those documents. But again, the parallels end there. Donald Trump refused to give them back, ignored the subpoenas, ignored the National Archives, and was forced by the FBI they pried the documents out of his hands, basically. Versus with Biden, he's the one who called the National Archives in the first place and alerted them of the documents and returned them. Both situations, again, being very terrible. Neither of them should have happened, and neither president should have had their hands on those documents after they lost their jobs. Trump is currently being investigated for possible obstruction, possible violation of the Espionage Act, and possible destruction of records, all things that he could be charged for. One thing that I was thinking that was interesting while I was reading this article in particular was, sorry, I'm just finding it. If I can find this, was the way in which the different presidents would be charged. Oh, yes, I think it's here. Yes. In the case of Biden, if the Justice Department were to find the case prosecutable on the evidence, the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel has concluded that a president is immune from prosecution during his time in office. I think this is very problematic. This goes against the fundamental beliefs of the rule of law in our country, that no person themselves is above the law. And so I'm very confused why we have this in the land of the free and the home of the brave. It doesn't seem like something very patriotic, and I think that this, probably has its own reasons, and I would love to do further research on this. But if you know more about this topic or why this is the way it is, then please let me know. In the case of Trump, since he's no longer in office, he wouldn't be afforded the same protections from possible prosecution that would apply to a sitting president. Again, I think that this part with Trump makes a lot of sense. He would be treated as any citizen would be. I'm confused as to why Biden would be offered special treatment, if you will. But please, if you know more about this, let me know. Let everyone know down in the comments below. Going forward with the more recent news, a Trump-appointed attorney has been reviewing the matter for the DOJ since November, and Attorney General Merrick Garland will decide whether or not to open criminal investigation, but he has opened a special counsel to take a look at the measure and what's happening. And a special counsel, if you're not sure, is something that no president wants to hear. Those are the two words that no president ever wants to hear during their presidency. Again, it's a semi-independent federal prosecutor. It's something that special counsels were used during Watergate, which, again, Watergate in general is not a positive thing, and so to have a part of Watergate be associated with your presidency isn't going to look good on any sitting president, and this may tarnish Biden's look and appeal for generations to come, which it should, because, again, as it should with Donald Trump, because neither president should have had those documents, and it's absolutely condemnable that either of them would have ever had those documents in the first place. But again, I think that the parallels end there at the existence of the classified documents, period, and stop. That's the end of the similarities between the two. The way that they reacted in both of their situations alone is enough to really differentiate them and their characters in general, because Biden is the one who alerted the National Archives. He's the one who called them in the first place to notify them of the documents, versus Trump, he knew about the documents. There's no evidence that Biden knew about the documents being there in the first place, or that he deliberately hid them. Versus Trump, he hid them from the National Archives. He stole them on purpose, deliberately. There's no way to refute that. And then when the National Archives asked for them back, he refused the subpoena, and then the FBI had to pry the documents out of his hands. So that's going to be the end for this political commentary episode. Check out the rest of our YouTube channel for more videos like this. I also have 2 election predictions up, one with matchup with Biden versus DeSantis, another with Biden versus Trump, both 2024, and more update videos, and one compilation video that's pretty funny. And again, I already shouted out the shorts and the YouTube channel. There's also an Instagram with the same handle as the TikTok, but go check out all of those different things, and in the description box down below I'll be linking all of the articles that I reference and use today. I've, just for pure transparency and for you guys to check out the articles too, because other than the headline and the front picture that I show you guys every time, there's also a bunch of article and hard work that goes into these articles. So I also want to give credit where credit is due. I have been linking, or not linking, but referencing New York Times, PBS when I use them in the description box, but I want to be linking them as well so you guys have can access them easier. So let me know if you like that. Let me know if you thought these articles were helpful in understanding these complex stories, and also let me know if you like this video and if you want more videos similar to this. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.